Hey guys, I know this is a very different setting than you're used to seeing me in. You're used to my more like office type background, but I feel like my, which is just in my bedroom, but I feel like that background is more of like my sitting down for some facts kind of background, and this video is more of an opinion video, so I felt like it just needed a different, more kind of chill, laid-back vibe. So this morning I posted a video analyzing the concept of equine dominance theory and essentially how it has been debunked. And as I was editing that video late into the night last night, stayed up way too late to do that, I realized that there was one thing that I did not go very in-depth on in that video that I feel like I should have. And that is why I personally think that so many people are still so reliant on dominance theory and dominance-based training, and why so many people are so resistant to give it up or to change it. Because there are people who you can approach them with all of the science, all of the studies, all of the facts, and they will continue to just double down and say, oh, well, I've been doing it this way, I'm going to keep doing it this way, even when they are faced with scientific evidence that shows them that they could be causing harm and that they most likely are. For those of us that, really heavily rely on science to influence our training, and those of us that like to learn and grow, it can be really confusing when we see people who are so resistant to change, even when said change could be making the lives of their horses better. It can be really hard seeing that, and it can be really frustrating being like, well, why aren't you willing to change? Why aren't you at least open to learning or to, trying something else? It can be really confusing seeing that when you are coming from the place of somebody who is always looking to make changes and make things better. I am definitely one of those people that gets frustrated sometimes. Trust me, I see you guys in the comments saying that you get angry when you see people like that, you get frustrated. You are not alone. I too get angry and frustrated sometimes. I regularly have to take breaks from the internet, particularly TikTok, because there's just so much of that, and it can get really frustrating. Because it's one thing if it's just you not making a change for yourself, like if you're continuing to do something unhealthy for yourself, that's one thing, right? Like if you continue to drink 10 Diet Cokes a day, even though people are telling you it's bad for you, but you refuse to change it, it's one thing if it's just affecting you. It's another thing when your choices are affecting somebody else, or especially a living creature who cannot speak up and say, hey, I don't understand, or hey, you're hurting me, hey, you're confusing me, hey, you're scaring me. You don't really get to justifiably be resistant to science in those moments, in my opinion. So I thought I would provide a little bit of insight as to why I personally think that some of these people are so resistant to give up dominance theory. Ultimately, I think there are two main reasons. The first one is that dominance theory and dominance-based training is the traditional method of training. These types of training, these ideas about how horses work and how horses interact with each other, is the way that we have been training and have been decoding equine behavior for centuries. These are the ideas and the methods that are passed down, often generations through a family. We see people who are like fourth generation horse trainers, and they're still training the way that their great-great-grandfather was training. And I think that most of these people think that they are doing the right thing, or that they are using the correct method that creates safe and well-trained horses. I have had personal conversations with people who will try to explain their dominance-based training methods, saying that this is how the horse understands it. They believe that they are using methods that horses understand. I know that a lot of how I was taught originally to train and handle horses was very either dominance theory based or dominance theory adjacent. And when I had working students whose education I was partially in charge of furthering along, I would have working students helping me throughout the evening, and it was my job to keep them on task, but also my job to help teach them. I passed on those ideas that I was taught. And if any of my former working students or summer camp kids are watching this right now, I am so sorry for the incorrect things that I taught you, the things that I was taught that I passed down to you. I am very, very sorry. And I know that some of you guys are out there watching my videos because I have gotten so many comments from people being like, oh my god, I used to go to your barn, I was a working student at your barn, or you helped with the summer camp that I went to as a kid. So I know you guys are out there. I did teach you guys a lot of good stuff, but I also taught you guys some stuff that is completely wrong or incorrect or bad. So I'm very sorry about that. The whole, if you can't catch a horse, then make them run away. I taught so many of my working students that. I am so sorry about that. I thought I was teaching you the right thing. I was not. But I do think that the main reason as to why we see so many people continue to use dominance theory is because they just don't know any better. And I also think that most of those people don't want to believe that they're doing something wrong. Nobody wants to believe that they might be doing something wrong or that they might be doing something harmful. And no one wants to believe that something that they've been taught by someone that they care about, like a mentor or a parent or a grandparent, could be wrong. They don't want to believe that their parents or their grandparents were also harming horses. For a lot of people, it's easier to double down and ignore the possibility of being wrong than to face the possibility that they've been doing something harmful. I do truly wholeheartedly believe that one of the biggest problems facing equine and overall animal welfare is the resistance to change. Okay, I'm back. You can probably tell, change of time. It is several hours later, but these cicadas were just driving me insane. They were so loud and I didn't want you guys to have to deal with that, so here we are. It is now 5:40 p.m. And yes, I'm wearing a hat because my hair is a mess right now, although I don't think it looks much better with the hat on. I just got it today though. It says doing it for the plot. Okay, so on to our second reason here. So reason number 2 is I think that a lot of people in the horse world, and like in the world in general, but we're talking about the horse world specifically today, feel a lack of control in their lives and a lack of regulation. And when they feel out of control, they want to feel like they have control over something. And in the horse world, having control over the horse in a very like dominant, I'm in charge control kind of way provides that sense of control that those people are lacking in their lives. I think that a lot of the people that fall into that camp also have emotional regulation issues and potentially some anger issues, and so that makes them a lot more likely to resort to punishment or aggression with horses because they're just so emotionally dysregulated. And I think that there are people out there, and in fact I know that there are people out there because I've met some of these people who have this intrinsic need and feeling of need to dominate, and like not just in horses but just like in every aspect of their life. It's like, I have to be in charge. I know that there are some people out there, like those red pill men, who will say that this is like an inherent biological urge. I don't think that it's an inherent biological urge so much as it is coping with someone's situation and potential upbringing and trauma. I know that when I was a mentally ill teenager and I was taught dominance theory, I definitely felt a need to be in charge and a need to be in control, and ultimately my need to be in control of something in my life led to me dyeing my hair every single color of the rainbow. This is the longest and healthiest my hair has been since I was like 10 because of all of that hair dyeing. But that like feeling of need to be in charge and to dominate, I've seen it in so many people. I've seen it in friends, I've seen it in coworkers, in men, women, teenagers, children. This like need or feeling can obviously happen to anybody, but I think as far as trainers in the public eye go, I definitely see it more in male trainers, which obviously is like isn't to say that it can't happen to female trainers. I know that it can. I've met female horse trainers like that, people in my past that I'm no longer associated with. But there are definitely a few male horse trainers on social media that are fairly well known that come to mind when I think about trainers who might fall into that category. And I actually know that there is this one trainer who is like supposedly like a world-renowned like natural horsemanship trainer who I think is literally doing a masterclass, like with masterclass, like, you know, that website, that app that we all saw ads for on YouTube like 5 years ago, that masterclass, and his training is being marketed as like this like ethical natural horsemanship that all horses understand. But I've actually looked into his training because I was like, oh, that would be a cool masterclass to look at, but I looked into his training, and I also looked into analyses, I think it's analyses, but I looked into what other people thought of his training, and I actually found, when I wasn't even looking for it, though this time, I was reading a paper for one of my equine behavior courses that was talking about training methods and tools that may be that may oppose learning theory and may cause welfare issues, and he was mentioned by name, and in that his training methods were very dominance theory based. And this is not me coming for male horse trainers, because I know that as soon as you say anything like, oh, I think I see this more in men, then men will flood the comment section and be like, you're a man hater. I'm not a man hater, but I do think that that is the other reason why we see so many people being so reliant on dominance theory and why it is still so prevalent, because I think it's appealing to a large group of people for whom it makes them feel special. and like they're the center of the universe because they're in charge, they're the alpha. And I think that often those are people who have very, very poor emotional regulation, and so I think that those are people who probably should not be in the business of training horses professionally. You have to have good emotional regulation to be able to train any animal effectively, but particularly if you're making a job, like a career out of it. That's not to say that you can't have mental struggles and be a horse trainer or train an animal effectively. It just means you have to work harder to regulate those emotions. Because, you know, I have seen people online who will attack horse trainers that have like anxiety or another mental or emotional struggle, saying, oh, you shouldn't be training horses. I don't believe in that at all. I think it all comes down to the individual person and how they regulate themselves. Because, I mean, Lord knows I've had my own mental and emotional issues. You guys know I've been very open about it. I have multiple anxiety disorders and clinical depression. I've struggled with depersonalization, derealization. I've gone through a lot of mental, emotional stuff in my life. And I am now able to somewhat decently train my animals effectively because I worked really hard on emotional regulation when with my animals. And actually, when my dad found my current horse trainer and sent her the spiel the night before I met her about what was all going on with Polly and what my personal struggles had been at the time, she responded back saying, I think this will be really good for Polly, but I think this will be really good for Cat too. And boy, was she right, because Polly was so anxious and fed off of me and still feeds off of me so much that I could not feel anxious when working with her or I would get nowhere. And she would feed off of the tension in my body, and so I would literally have to force my body to relax and constantly think about my breathing, constantly think about where my brain was at, what I was thinking about, and work on regulating myself so that I could train her effectively. And that helped me a lot in getting over the final hump with my anxiety, to where I am now able to live a life where day to day, for the most part, I function as if I don't have an anxiety disorder. It's still there, and on my bad days, oh boy, it's bad. I still get panic attacks every once in a while, but I'm not having 3 a day like I used to. So you can definitely have like anxiety or depression or, trauma that you're working through and still train horses, but it comes down to how you regulate your emotions and how you take them out, because I see a lot of people who have a lot of emotional regulation issues that get frustrated so easily and then they take it out on the horse. I even have moments where, like, if Polly's not listening, I'll feel myself getting frustrated. I don't like hurt her or anything, but I'll feel myself getting frustrated, and as soon as I feel myself getting frustrated, I know that I have to separate myself from the situation, because even if it means ending where she quote unquote won, I don't like saying it like that, but we ended with her not responding correctly, and I'm like, okay, we're done. Obviously you don't want to end on that note if you can avoid it, but I would rather end on that note than me get frustrated and potentially get like harsher with the pressure. And obviously, like, I'm not going to hurt her, but like maybe I'm going to get more aggressive. Maybe I'm not going to ask her as gently as I should, or maybe I'm not going to ask her as clear as I could, because the more frustrated you get, the more likely you are to send conflicting signals to the horse, because you're not thinking about each little part of your body, right? And when I watch videos of these dominance theory based horse trainers, I watch the horse not respond because they don't understand what's being asked, and then I watch the trainer get so frustrated and angry and be like, see, he's trying to take over, he's trying to be in charge, and then they're like going at them with the rope, and I'm like, you clearly have your own problems to work through, you should deal with that first. And like trainers like that, like, I think that you can make a change. Like, people like this who are still so resistant to moving away from dominance theory, I'm not trying to condemn any trainers here necessarily. I mean, I think that if a pillar of your training methods and your training philosophy is physical punishment and like beating horses, then you have no business being a trainer. I'm sorry, but I think that the vast majority of horse trainers that are dominance theory based, I think that you can make a change, and I think that you can get better. I think you can. And same goes for people who aren't trainers, but just, grew up being taught these methods, because I was taught a lot of those methods. Like, I wasn't taught full dominance theory as far as like herd dynamics, but I was taught some handling methods and philosophies that were at least sorry, I have a scratch on my back, at least dominance theory adjacent, if not fully complying with dominance theory. And I was taught a lot of horrible things. And maybe one day I'll make a video on all the things that were wrong that I was taught, or the things that were harmful that I was taught. But like some things that I've mentioned before, like I was taught if your horse stomps their foot, you smack them. If your horse tries to bite, you grab them by the tongue. I was taught to do those things, and I did those things because I didn't know any better, and it just started feeling wrong to me. And then someone like literally came into my life, who is still one of my very good friends today, and I'll forever be grateful for her for telling me, hey, this isn't how it is everywhere else. And then I was able to learn and try something else, and like my eyes were opened. My entire worldview collapsed as far as animal training went, or horse training I should say. But now I'm able to have much better relationships with horses and work with them in a much more effective and safe manner, honestly. Like the amount of horses that at like the barn where I was originally taught, that I would be like walking on eggshells around them because I didn't know when they were going to do this or when they're going to do that because of the way that they were handled. So I think that most people have the ability to come back from dominance theory indoctrinate. I can't talk, I'm sorry, it's so late, I have a headache. I think that most people can come back from dominance theory indoctrination, but I think there are some people who just don't belong in the animal training industry or world. I'm sorry, this was so rambly. I don't even know if this is going to be coherent enough to share online, but I did feel like it was necessary to, sorry, I have my computer here because I had notes. I did feel like it was important to share my thoughts on why I think it's still around, because anytime I've like mentioned something like this to a non-horsey person, they're like, oh, well, like logically that makes sense then. Like it's scientifically proven that it's, you know, it's debunked. Why would people still use it? And that's a very good question. And I do think it comes down to either a lack of education and understanding, or, you know, there are aspects of dominance theory that are appealing to a lot of people, and so they want to hold on to it, and nobody wants to believe that they're doing something wrong, or that they're doing something harmful, or that someone that taught them is doing something wrong. Because especially we tend to, you know, we idolize people like our parents or grandparents were our mentors, people who brought us into an industry. I'm sorry, I'm going to be one of those people. I hate motorcycles simply because they're so damn loud. But, you know, we tend to idolize people like our parents, grandparents, mentors, people that brought us into an industry and have taught us and helped brought us up in an industry. And we don't want to believe that they're doing something wrong. It's just human nature. And I think that that's a whole separate issue that needs to be addressed at some point. But I also think that, like I said, like the lack of education, understanding, if you are a professional in an industry like an animal training industry, like if you're a dog trainer, you're a horse trainer, these are industries that are constantly evolving. We are constantly learning more. New research studies coming out every year, new information. It is your job to continue to educate yourself as the science progresses. The more that we learn as an industry, each individual needs to be learning. That is your job. You need to be doing that. And if you have not cracked a book in the last 30 years, because I know there are a lot of horse trainers online who have not, then you need to step away from horse training and come back once you've gotten up to speed with modern science. And like, I'm not trying to be a bitch here, okay? Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to be annoying. But like, that's the reality. Like, do you want a doctor who hasn't stayed up to date with modern advances in medicine? No, you want a doctor who is aware of the most recent research about that vaccine or that medication. Like, you want a doctor who is up to date. You should want a horse trainer that is up to date as well. Because in the grand scheme of things, we know next to nothing about horses. Like, we know so much, but we actually know so little. And like veterinary medicine, for example, like equine veterinary medicine is so primitive. It's so primitive. And I feel like the next 10 years, a lot of this stuff like equine science, veterinary medicine is going to just like skyrocket. Like, it's just going to take off. And in 10 years, we're going to look back at what we're doing now and be like, why the hell were we doing that? We are learning so much every year, and it is our job as horse owners, as equestrians, as trainers, as veterinarians, as body workers, as whatever it is, whatever our role is in the industry, whether we're professionals or we're just recreational, whether we're just like lesson students releasing a horse, it's our job to continue to educate ourselves about these animals so that we can take care of them properly and train them properly. They deserve that. We have to give that to them. So that was probably way more than you were hoping to get in. That's probably way more than you were hoping to hear from me today. You're probably not wanting to get into that long of a rant, but I had a lot of thoughts. I might cut a lot of this out. This might be 2 different videos. I don't know. Let me know if you're interested in videos like this where I'm just kind of like in a laid back setting and just, is that the, so I thought that there was like something wet on my shirt. It's just the shadow of the tripod on me. Sorry. But let me know if you like videos like this where I'm like in a laid back setting and I'm just kind of like chatting or ranting at you or like giving you my opinion, because I do think that the like fact-based videos are what I want to do the most of, because I think that's what's most helpful. But I do think that offering personal experience or offering opinion can also be beneficial sometimes. So if you like something more like this that's like not scripted, let me know. I do often go off script in my videos anyways. Like when I share personal experiences, those are mostly off script, but I do write out a script so that I make sure that I don't forget things. But let me know if you like non-scripted videos like this in the future. Like I might do some of them at the barn or whatnot. I'm also hoping to start doing more vlogs at the barn with Polly, like showing you like what we're doing training wise, how I care for her, doing some like dog related vlogs as well, because I know a lot of you guys have actually been requesting to like see more of what I do with my animals, which I think is totally valid request, even if it's just for enjoyment. Like if you want to see that, who am I to deprive you of that? But also because I'm here giving like information and opinions about how to train and care for animals, I think it's only fair to share what it is I actually do with mine. So thank you for coming to Backyard Chats with Kat. I hope this was maybe enlightening, or maybe it was just something for you to put on in the background while you do your dishes or fold your laundry. But let me know if this is something you'd like to see in the future, and if so, what kind of things you'd like me to talk about. We could do it like a Q&A style thing. Like if you ask me like, oh, what's your opinion on this? I can make a video on it like this. I am rambling. My ADHD medication has very clearly worn off. I have a headache and I'm very hungry. So I am going to go in and do some other things. How do you outro this? I don't know. I love you guys, my beautiful critical thinkers, and I will see you in the next video.